The moment the door to Buckingham Palace swings open, secrets begin to crawl out. Not quietly, not politely, but in ways that leave the world gasping. It's 2026, and the latest release from the Jeffrey Epstein files has dropped like a thunderclap. Among the 3 million pages, 2,000 videos, and 180,000 images, there's one revelation that has stunned both the public and the palace. Prince Andrew, formerly one of Britain's most visible royals, captured in photographs that are deeply compromising. Suddenly, the royal image, carefully curated for centuries, feels fragile, exposed, vulnerable, and the monarchy, it is teetering. A single photo can change everything. It starts with one image, one frame that, on its own, might have been dismissed. But this isn't just a photo. In it, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is on all fours, leaning over a woman whose face has been redacted. A camera clicks, and in that single instant, history shifts. Another photo shows Jeffrey Epstein, ever the facilitator, appearing to offer Andrew an introduction to a 26-year-old Russian woman. The emails attached to these images suggest social dinners, introductions, and private meetings, years after Epstein's 2008 conviction for crimes against minors. The optics are jarring, the context is explosive, and suddenly, the world is forced to ask, what was he really doing behind palace walls? The story that refuses to stay hidden, Prince Andrew's association with Epstein, has been a storm in slow motion for over a decade. From public scrutiny after the 2010 Central Park photo to the civil lawsuit settled in the U.S., Andrew has been a figure both scrutinized and shielded. But these new files, described by historian Andrew Loney as very damaging to the monarchy, aren't just photos. They're evidence of a pattern that paints a picture of reckless judgment, secrecy, and proximity to one of the most notorious figures of the 21st century. The palace has tried to control the narrative. PR campaigns, public statements, and appearances by family members were meant to soften the blow. But this release, it cuts through every carefully crafted layer. Inside the palace walls, imagine the grandeur of Buckingham Palace, the corridors lined with centuries of history. Now imagine those same halls hosting someone who was intimately tied to Epstein's criminal web. According to sources, Epstein was invited to Buckingham Palace just a month after he was released from house arrest, a fact that shocks the world. And in these files, Andrew's behavior appears unconcerned, casual, almost normalized. Historian Andrew Loney explains, it's very clear how deeply involved he was with Epstein, how much he lied about that involvement. The images and emails only confirm what many suspected, that the narrative we were told was incomplete at best, false at worst. The monarchy, built on centuries of ceremonial trust, suddenly looks fragile and vulnerable, and the public is watching, craving answers, ready to question everything. The legal and political avalanche. The repercussions aren't limited to palace gossip. This is now a legal and political crisis. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has publicly called for Andrew to testify before Congress. Victims' advocates are demanding accountability, and while Andrew denies wrongdoing, his reputation has been irrevocably damaged. Meanwhile, Andrew is facing logistical pressures. He has relinquished the lease on Royal Lodge, with reports suggesting he may relocate to the Middle East, possibly Abu Dhabi or Bahrain, where powerful allies await. The palace watches cautiously, but the optics are clear. Privilege can still offer refuge, even amid scandal. A family in turmoil. This isn't just a story about Andrew. It's a story about the family left behind, the institution under scrutiny, and the daughters caught in the public eye. Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, once shielded by royal protocol, now navigate a world that judges their father, and by extension their family, harshly. King Charles, too, is trapped in a precarious position. He must balance familial loyalty with public accountability, ceremonial tradition with modern scrutiny. One misstep could fracture public trust in ways not seen in generations. The human toll behind the headlines. While headlines scream of images and emails, there's a quiet, invisible weight. Andrew reportedly suffers from profound isolation, struggling with depression and public vilification. The palace's attempts to control sympathy through staged appearances and selective narratives barely scratch the surface of the psychological pressure he faces. Yet the files leave a haunting question. If the man at the center of the story is so insulated, who bears the real consequences? The individual, the institution, or the public that believed in both? What these files reveal, and conceal the Epstein files, now partially public, reveal more than just Andrew's actions. They reveal patterns of behavior previously obscured by palace statements, connections and meetings that continued long after Epstein's criminal record was public, the limits of royal immunity and how privilege can shield powerful individuals from immediate accountability. But they also conceal key answers. Will Andrew face new investigations? Will Sarah Ferguson, often mentioned in documents, be implicated or called as a witness? How far does the palace's knowledge go? And what did King Charles know before these photos surfaced? Every unanswered question fuels suspense, leaving the public in a state of anxious anticipation. The monarchy's crisis of confidence. Historically, the British monarchy has survived scandals, wars, and revolutions, but never has it faced a crisis quite like this. One fueled not by external enemies, but by internal secrecy, public mistrust, and incontrovertible evidence leaking in real time. Analysts warned that each release, each photo, and each email chips away at public faith in the monarchy. And while the institution may endure, its aura of invulnerability, the mystique that shields it, may never fully recover.
The dramatic question everyone wants answered. How complicit was Andrew in Epstein's world? Did the palace fail to act? And if so, why? And ultimately, what will the world see next? The suspense is palpable. Every new image, every new page of documents feels like a plot twist in a story centuries in the making. The next chapter, the Epstein files, are far from fully released. Experts suggest there are millions of pages still to come, potentially containing further revelations about Andrew, Epstein, and their circle. And as global attention intensifies, the pressure mounts for Andrew to provide testimony, cooperate with authorities, face public and legal scrutiny, or continue to live under the shadow of secrecy. For viewers, readers, and citizens alike, the question lingers: will justice be done, and what will it cost the monarchy? A royal tale of power, privilege, and suspense. This is a story that unfolds like a cinematic drama. It's not just scandalous, it's a lesson in human ambition, secrecy, and the fragility of institutions once thought untouchable. Prince Andrew, the palace, and the monarchy are at the center of a storm that has been decades in the making, and while the world waits for answers, one truth is already clear: these images, emails, and documents will define this chapter of royal history, a chapter that may never fully close. The suspense is real, the stakes are enormous, and the world is watching. Every page, every frame, every revelation, as secrets of the past collide with the present.